Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Burro is the 20th episode of the third season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by Halvorson, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And while I definitely don't dislike this episode, I feel like nothing really happened for a good 2/3. And then the final few scenes kind of made up for that, because the last few scenes I thought were pretty good. Not amazing. I still didn't come away from this feeling like it was the best episode ever, but it ended up being, well, better than it was at the beginning. It starts off with Alan miserable in the kitchen, and Charlie is trying to talk to him to kind of try and make him feel better about the fact that his girlfriend, potentially ex-girlfriend at this point, Alan's not entirely sure what's going on with the relationship, is living with his ex-wife. And then when they're in the living room, Charlie decides, because Mandi appears at the top of the stairs, that that would be the right time to tell Alan he's sleeping with Kandi's mother, Mandi. And Alan goes to speak with Mandi in Charlie's bedroom while they're in bed. Mandi, to her credit, was really nice, really polite, willing to talk with Alan. I just found her to be a boring character, but actually maybe a good match for Charlie. But I didn't find her to be that interesting. Alan talks with her, and then he goes to see Kandi. And the conversation doesn't go as he'd like because, well, Judith's in the way. And as he's leaving, a character we learn is called Andy arrives. This is a character played by Kevin Sorbo. And Andy is Kandi's father. Yes, that is Andy, Mandi, and Kandi. And Alan is then talking to Charlie and Mandi again. And I didn't really find the scene that interesting, but it's absolutely fine. But then things pick up, and by this point, we are maybe 2/3 of the way through the episode. As you can tell, not a lot has happened. It's not very funny. I'm not that bothered about it. But then we get the scene in the kitchen. Alan is on the phone with Jake, and then Berta is in the kitchen, and she's catching up with everything. And as always, I loved her response to everything. Really, really great fun. She referred to them all as a box of hamsters, which I absolutely adored. And then Alan goes to Judith's. And from this point, the scene with Berta I thought was pretty good. But from Alan arriving at Judith's again, everything actually became really enjoyable. So this last scene, or these last few moments, really made up for it. Because Alan rings the doorbell, and Charlie answers. And it turns out that Mandi was going to talk with Kandi, so Charlie figured he might as well go along. And then Alan and Kandi do end up making up, and they go off to do whatever they're going to do in Kandi's bedroom. And Charlie and Mandi decide to do something similar on Judith's sofa. And then, without seeing Mandi and Charlie, Judith and Andy come in, and they go off to have sex somewhere. And Charlie realises he should probably go and tell Alan that Judith and Andy are back, and he can't find Alan because he doesn't know which bedroom belongs to which character. So he comes back into the main room, and Mandi has disappeared. And Charlie is just wandering around the house trying to find Alan and Mandi. Judith opens the door onto his face at one point, and then Mandi opens the door onto his face because she was hiding in a cupboard with an ironing board. And then we find out that actually Alan and Kandi were in the hot tub, and we find this out because Judith and Andy go in the hot tub. And then we have Judith and her ex-husband Alan, and his partner Kandi, and her father Andy, all in the hot tub. And it's rather crazy and chaotic, and I think it worked out really well, and it was quite entertaining. And then we end with Charlie and Mandi in the hot tub, and it was not a bad final episode. I thought it worked really well. The execution of that scene in the last few moments, pretty decent. But the episode as a whole, I just feel was a little bit flat. I personally didn't get that much entertainment out of it. It's not bad as such. It's just not funny, and I don't care about the characters very much. I'm not really a huge fan of Kandi. I think April Bowlby does an amazing job, but the character I'm not that bothered about. Mandi and Andy, they're fine. No problems, just not that interesting. But it's okay. It's not an episode I'd ever choose to watch, but if I was binge watching season 3, I don't think I'd skip it. It's not too bad once we get to the kind of final third, pretty much from Berta being in it from there on. It's fine. Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Burro isn't a personal favourite, but there are definitely some good moments.